Let me paint you a picture that I think a lot of people watching this know more intimately than they'd like to admit. You wake up, it's a regular morning, and before you've even gotten out of bed, the mental inventory starts. What's in the account? What's due this week? Whether the thing you paid for last Tuesday has cleared yet. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from living in that state. Not physical exhaustion, but the deep, grinding tiredness of a brain that never fully powers down. A brain that is constantly, quietly running the numbers on whether you're going to be okay. And the thing that makes it worse, the thing nobody really talks about, is that you probably know what you're supposed to do. You've read the articles, you've watched the videos, you know the words. Index funds, compound interest, Roth IRA, emergency fund. But knowing the words and knowing the actual step-by-step path from where you are to somewhere genuinely different, those are two completely different things. And nobody gives you the second one in a way that feels real and sequential and actually usable from zero. That's what this video is. A real plan. Not inspiration, not concepts. The exact sequence I would follow if I woke up broke tomorrow with the knowledge I have now. And some of what I'm going to tell you is going to be different from what you've heard before. Specifically about the order in which you do things. Because the order matters enormously. And most people get it wrong. My name is Max, and I want to help you learn how to make your money work more for you in your life. Not with vague guidance, but with genuine, step-level understanding of how you actually get from zero to somewhere. If that's what you're here for, subscribe, because this is what this channel is built around every single week. Now, here's the belief I want to challenge right at the start, because it's the belief that causes people to either not start or to start in the wrong place. Most people believe that when you're broke, the first financial priority is to start investing, get money into the market, get the compound interest working, don't wait. And that impulse comes from good information. Compound interest is real. Time in the market matters. Waiting costs you, all true. But that logic breaks down in one critical scenario, when you have high interest debt. Because here's the overlooked truth. Paying off a credit card charging you 22% interest is a guaranteed 22% return on your money. There is no investment available to you, legally, that offers a guaranteed 22% return. Not the S&P 500, not real estate, not anything. And yet people who carry $8,000 in credit card debt are out here opening brokerage accounts and buying index funds, earning a hoped-for 8% in one pocket while losing a guaranteed 22% in the other. The math on that is catastrophic, and it's a mistake that feels like financial responsibility because you're doing something that sounds right. The overlooked truth is that the sequence is the strategy. Do the right things in the wrong order, and the results are dramatically worse than doing them in the right order. So what I'm going to give you today is not just the what, it's the exact sequence, step by step. No skipping, no reordering. Here's the analogy I want you to hold. Imagine you're trying to fill a bathtub. You've got the faucet running. Water coming in, representing your income and future savings. But the drain is open, pulling water out constantly. Here's the thing about filling a bathtub with an open drain. It's not impossible, but it's dramatically harder than it needs to be, and you'll never get the tub full. The first step, before you even think about the faucet, is closing the drain. Get rid of the thing that's pulling everything back out. And once the drain is closed, even a modest faucet fills the tub surprisingly quickly. High interest debt is the open drain, and every other step in this plan depends on closing it first. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the reason people don't close the drain first isn't that they don't understand it intellectually. It's what's happening in their brain when they try. There's a well-documented psychological phenomenon called the debt avoidance loop. Researchers studying financial behavior, including work from the Financial Health Network, have found that people in debt don't just struggle with the math. They struggle with looking at the math. The stress of examining the full scope of your debt is so uncomfortable that avoidance becomes the default response. You know it's bad. You don't open the statements. You don't total it up. You manage it at arm's length because the full picture is too painful to face directly. And that avoidance is not weakness. It's a predictable neurological response to a threat you feel powerless against. Research on what's called financial shame, studied by Dr. Galen Buckwalter among others, shows that financial distress activates the same brain regions as social rejection and physical pain. Your brain is not being dramatic when it doesn't want to look at your debt. It is genuinely trying to protect you from something it experiences as dangerous. The way to break the loop is not willpower. It's a single, specific act of confrontation. Sit down, add up every debt you have, write the interest rate next to each one, and sort them highest to lowest. That list, the one you've been avoiding, is the map. And once you can see the map, the path becomes clear. Now let's get into the actual step-by-step plan. And I'm going to give you real numbers because vague plans don't survive contact with real life. Step 1, and this is genuinely the starting point, regardless of where you are. Build a $1,000 emergency fund before you do anything else. Not $10,000, not 3 months of expenses, $1,000 in a high-yield savings account, as fast as humanly possible. The reason for this specific number is that $1,000 covers the vast majority of genuine financial emergencies, a car repair, a medical copay, an unexpected bill, without forcing you back onto a credit card. It breaks the cycle of debt accumulation that happens when an unexpected expense undoes weeks of progress. If you're starting from zero, this is the whole first month. Cut everything non-essential. Sell things. Pick up extra hours. Get to $1,000 as the singular, non-negotiable goal. Step 2. Attack high-interest debt with everything you have. And I mean everything. If you have credit card debt above 8 or 9% interest, which at current average rates of 22%, you almost certainly do. This is where every extra dollar goes after your $1,000 cushion is in place. Use the avalanche method. Minimum payments on all debts, every extra dollar, to the highest interest debt first. The math on this is unambiguous. Avalanche saves more money than the debt snowball method in almost every scenario. The snowball method has psychological advantages that are real, and if you need the motivational wins of paying off small balances first to stay in the game, use it. But if you can stay disciplined on the math, Avalanche wins. Here's what this looks like with specific numbers. You have $15,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. You're paying $500 a month toward it. At minimum payments, this takes over 4 years to pay off and costs you approximately $7,500 in interest. At $1,000 a month, by cutting aggressively and throwing everything available at it, you're out in about 16 months and pay roughly $2,800 in interest. The difference between $500 and $1,000 a month is not just speed. It's $4,700 that doesn't go to a credit card company. That's $4,700 that goes to your future instead. Step 3, and this is where most people skip ahead too fast. Build your full emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of actual living expenses in a high-yield savings account. Right now, high-yield savings accounts are paying around 4 to 5% APY, which means your emergency fund is actually earning something meaningful while it sits there. This is not investing. This is not wealth building. This is insurance. And insurance is not optional. The people who blow up their financial progress almost always do so because they didn't have this cushion, and a real emergency forced them to either take on new debt or liquidate investments at the worst possible time. If your monthly expenses are $3,500, you need between $10,500 and $21,000 in this account. I know that sounds like a lot when you're starting from zero. It is a lot, which is why steps 1 and 2 come first, because clearing the high interest debt frees up the cash flow to build this faster than you think. Step 4, and this is where the compound interest engine actually starts. Max your employer's 401k match. Every dollar your employer matches is a guaranteed 50% or 100% return on your contribution, depending on their matching structure. If your employer matches dollar for dollar up to 4% of your salary, and you're not contributing at least 4%, you are leaving guaranteed free money on the table. This is the single highest return, lowest risk investment available to any working American with an employer match. Do this before you pay off low interest debt. Do this before you open a brokerage account. The match is too valuable to pass up. Step 5. If you have any remaining high interest debt after step 4, continue attacking it. Once you're free of it entirely, step 6 is opening and contributing to a Roth IRA up to the annual limit, $7,000 in 2026 if you're under 50. The Roth IRA grows tax-free, withdrawals in retirement are tax-free, and unlike the traditional 401k, you've already paid taxes on what goes in. For most people in the early stages of wealth building, before they're in the highest tax brackets, the Roth is superior because the tax-free growth over decades is enormously valuable. Here's the math that makes this real. $7,000 a year in a Roth IRA, starting at age 30, invested in a total market index fund at 8% average annual return, grows to approximately $1.7 million by age 65. Completely tax-free, you don't pay $1 of tax on that $1.7 million when you withdraw it. Compare that to the same investment in a traditional taxable account, you'd owe capital gains taxes on the growth, potentially leaving you with $1.3 to $1.4 million after tax. The account structure alone, the Roth, is worth $300,000 to $400,000 in this scenario. From the same investment, the account is the investment. Step 7. Once the Roth is maxed, go back to your 401k and contribute beyond the match up to the annual limit, which is $23,500 in 2026. Step 8. If you've maxed both and still have investable money, which look, if you're at this step, you've done something remarkable, open a taxable brokerage account and invest in low-cost, broad market index funds. Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. Total market expense ratios under 0.10%. Keep it simple. That's the sequence. 8 steps. In order, no skipping. Now let me talk about who you become executing this plan, because the identity shift here is real and it matters. Getting from broke to step 7 of this plan is not a financial achievement. It is a character achievement. It requires months, possibly years, of choosing the future version of yourself over the present one. Every weekend you didn't spend money you didn't have. Every upgrade you deferred. Every conversation with a partner or a friend about why you're being so intense about this right now. Every time you checked the debt balance and watched it go down by $300 when you'd hoped for $500. All of that is you casting votes for a specific kind of person. Research by psychologist Carol Dweck on what she calls mastery experiences, moments where you accomplish something difficult through sustained effort, shows that these experiences don't just build skills. They build a qualitatively different belief about your own capacity. By the time you've paid off $15,000 in credit card debt and built a 6-month emergency fund, you are not the same person who started. You have direct, experiential evidence that you can set a financial goal and achieve it. That evidence changes what you're willing to attempt next. It changes how you see risk. It changes your relationship with time and future reward in ways that ripple into every other domain of your life. Let me show you what this financial foundation actually unlocks, because the scenarios are concrete and vivid. Your company announces a reorganization. Roles are changing. Some people are being let go. Without the emergency fund, without the cleared debt, without the runway, this news is terrifying. You need this income. You accept whatever they offer. You don't negotiate. You don't explore. With 6 months of expenses in the bank and no high-interest debt eating your monthly cash flow, this news is interesting. You can afford to see what emerges. You can afford to have honest conversations. You can afford to start looking quietly without desperation. Same event, completely different position, or a business opportunity. Your brother-in-law is buying a small franchise and wants to know if you could come in as a silent partner for $20,000. Without the financial plan executed, this conversation is painful. You want to say yes, you can't. The opportunity passes to someone else. 3 years into this plan, with debt cleared and a growing investment portfolio, $20,000 is a real conversation. You evaluate it on its merits. Maybe you do it, maybe you don't. But you get to decide. which is the entire point, or your own health. Medical research consistently shows that financial stress leads to deferred medical care. People skip the specialist. They manage symptoms. They don't get the scan. Getting this plan in place, getting to the step where financial anxiety drops because the system is working, means getting the care you've been putting off. And sometimes that changes everything that comes after. Let's talk about your relationship with work specifically, because this plan changes it profoundly. At the beginning of this plan, your job is load-bearing infrastructure. It has to work. The income has to keep coming. There is no slack. And people who are in that position don't negotiate effectively, don't take career risks, and don't advocate for themselves the way they should. The employer has leverage, not because they're villainous, but because the employee structurally cannot afford to lose. By step 5 or 6 of this plan, clear debt, emergency fund, Roth funded, your job is still important, but it's no longer the only thing holding everything up. You have runway. Your Roth has $30,000 or $40,000 in it growing quietly. Your checking account isn't zero on the 28th. That shift from I need this to I choose this changes your professional posture in ways that are immediately felt. You speak differently in meetings. You hold your position in negotiations. You take the lateral move that sets up the next thing, and that professional posture produces better outcomes, which produces higher income, which funds the plan faster. The feedback loop is real, and it starts at step 1. Now here's the warning, because I've watched this specific mistake derail more people than almost any other. When the debt is gone, when you make that last payment and feel the weight lift, your brain is going to release something, a kind of permission. You've been so disciplined for so long, and now the hard part is done, and there's this almost irresistible pull to celebrate, to finally do the thing you've been putting off, to relax the constraints that felt so tight, and some of that is fine and human and deserved. I'm not telling you to never enjoy anything, but here's the number I want you to hold. The spending pattern you establish in the 6 months after paying off your debt will almost certainly be the spending pattern you carry for the next decade. That's not hyperbole. Research on lifestyle inflation shows that income and spending track each other with a kind of gravitational pull. When one goes up, the other follows, and when a constraint is removed, spending expands to fill the space almost automatically. Here's the concrete version. You paid off $15,000 in debt and freed up $600 a month in minimum payments. If that $600 gets absorbed into lifestyle, nicer apartment, new car payment, upgraded subscriptions, it's gone. If that $600 gets redirected to your Roth IRA and investment accounts, in 25 years at 8%, it becomes approximately $570,000. You didn't choose between comfort now and $570,000 later. It felt like you chose between comfort and $600 a month. But compound math doesn't respect how the trade felt. It just runs the numbers. The discipline that cleared your debt isn't a sentence you're serving. It's the skill that builds everything that comes next. Don't put it down the moment you're allowed to. Here's how I want to close this, because I've been thinking about the person who actually needs this plan right now. If you're broke in 2026, genuinely starting from zero or close to it, you are not behind in any permanent way. You are at the beginning of a sequence that has a clear, documented path to somewhere meaningfully different. The steps are real. The math works. The psychological barriers are understandable and navigable. And the person you become executing this plan is someone your current self would genuinely not recognize. Not because the money changes you, but because the discipline and the choices and the sustained commitment to your own future does. The bathtub fills faster than you think once the drain is closed. Start with the drain.